This is a video for Aries, and Aries, I'll be doing videos hopefully every day now, and I want to help you. Deal with it. And Aries is going through a lot of trouble right now. And Aries is any singularity in a masculine. So first of all, I want to talk about the importance of mathematics and how important it is to know that our current form of mathematics, just simple math, doesn't really teach us much. So when I guess the Romans took out a bunch of math that they didn't consider was important. It was math that teaches spirituality. So understand that when you learn math, it doesn't teach you anything. It's just like crunching numbers, right? Well, that's because we don't have a spiritual implication behind mathematics. But there's supposed to be one. So when you're in school and math is so boring, there's nothing to learn from math. You have to learn the rules on how to add, subtract, divide, and multiply numbers. And it doesn't do anything, right? What's the skill in math? Just how to actually make it work. What does it do? It adds up money or other things. But understand there's a spirituality to be understood behind mathematics. And mathematics proves it. So let's talk about 1 by halves and one is a whole number. Understand there's 3 groups of numbers in mathematics. So I'd suggest, Aries, taking a look at this. It's very important. That's perfectly okay with me. And Aries, we got this curse. Aries, it's something that we can also, well, it's a curse that's either this curse or it could be that curse, whatever's on you. But ultimately, it's a state of being dispossessed, Aries. All that you are, Aries, is a dispossessed state of depression and suicide. Now look, Aries, if you don't understand what I'm trying to help you understand here, it'll be the fact that you didn't understand simple math. When they taught you simple math, they didn't teach you any spirituality behind it. So let's look at the halves and the wholes. So the 3 groups of numbers in mathematics, you can't call them odd and even because they're actually mixed, which means that there's the prime numbers. The prime numbers start with the number 2, which is the first even number. And the number 2 is either 2 halves, which make a whole. And if they're 2 halves, they're a masculine half and a feminine half. So they're not like 2 masculine halves or 2 feminine halves. If they are, there's a problem. It's kind of like when you get down to genetics. We'll talk about genetics too, Aries. The problem with you, Aries, is by halves. Aries, if you're in a disposition against the divine feminine, that means the girlfriend you had in your past, you had a problem with her, you didn't like her, she picked on you, whatever, she harassed you, you harassed her, something happened, right? And ultimately, because of one girlfriend, Aries, you made a huge mistake. You got stuck in what's called a disposition. Disposition, there's no such thing as good disposition, Aries. All dispositions are out of position. And they might be in position as out of position, stubbornly. So if they're half and they're in position, then they're stubborn and they're against something. So Aries, your nature is to fight and be against things, especially when you're attacked. And if it starts, Aries, where you're attacked or you have difficulty in life, well, the more difficulty you have in life, Aries, the more chance, you got like a 90% chance of having every problem. Because as a half who doesn't have the other half, well, you are only a half, Aries. Now understand, Aries, you're the first sign of the zodiac, and you are either a whole, that means you're incorporating 2 sides of your brain, or you're half-brained, that means you're only incorporating the masculine or only the feminine, and not the other half. So Aries, the prime numbers, and then there's composite numbers. The composite numbers are basically all the even numbers. The prime numbers are all the odds, except for the fact that the number 2 is an even number that's among all the odds. And the number 9 in the composite group is a odd number among all the evens. So you've got the number 2 and the number 9 that are in the wrong groups. They're not really in the wrong groups, they're in the right groups. Meaning Taurus or 2 represents all odd, even though it's even, because it's actually made of 2 odds. 2 halves make 1 2, or 2 whole number. So odd plus odd equals even. Actually, 2 odds or doubly odd actually turns into an even. It could also be doubly odd and even more out of whack. So in math, I'll continue this, but understand, Aries, you want to look at the prime numbers, the composite numbers, and the special numbers group. The special numbers group is a group of, well, it's the number 1 has been removed from the prime and composite numbers. So there's 3 groups in math, and all the numbers in the universe are in the prime and composite groups, except for the 3rd group called the special numbers group. The number 1's in it. There should be 2 1s there, 1 feminine, 1 masculine, but in our math we only put 1 there because they're not teaching about feminine and masculine, which is important to know, that you need to understand the incorporation of becoming a whole number. Aries, you want to become a whole number, incorporating 2 halves that become 1 whole. It's like a marriage. If you can't do it, Aries, it's possible. You can't. You can only be a half. And understand that all the numbers in the universe, starting with 2, Taurus, is 2 halves. So Gemini is 3 halves. Cancer is 4 halves. Leo is 5 halves. Understand that every sign in the zodiac, Aries, is more than 1 half, starting with the 2nd sign, Taurus. You're the 1st sign of the zodiac, Aries. You're only 1 half. You're a 1. You're just a half, which means you're the only half that's 1 half, and the only one that is in the entire zodiac, which makes Aries not only unique, but unique in a way that absolutely should be taught and understood. Aries is so unique in how he's going to have, or she's going to have problems, lots of them, because all of the numbers can be 2 halves, starting with 2. Why can't you do it, Aries? If Taurus' number, 2nd sign of zodiac, says I could be 2 halves, I am 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. How come you can't do it, Aries? Well, Gemini could say, hey, I could be a 2 and a 1. I'm a 3. Cancer says I could be 2 2s or 4 1s. How come you can't do it, Aries? How come you can only be a half and that's all you're gonna do? Well, Aries will say, it's not fair. It's not fair. I don't even understand any of this. How in the hell am I gonna be having any understanding that I'm only a half and I can't be a whole number, maybe, because of my uniqueness? And the number 1 is either a whole number as 1, why it was removed from why it's called the special numbers group, because what they don't tell you is that the number 1 in the special numbers group is the only number that is there. It's just a 1. There should be 2 1s, like I said, 1 feminine, 1 masculine, and they're also supposed to teach you that the 1 represents either a half that doesn't have the other half, and that means it's a fraction, and it's not 1, it's only half 1, or it's a whole number, it's the same 1, meaning you can't tell the difference between a 1 and a 1. If it's a whole 1 made of 2 halves that become 1 in a marriage, it is 1 in a marriage, or 1, but it's not half anymore, you see? So they don't teach you that as a half, Aries, you have to deal with life. You're the only half in the zodiac that is 1 half. You can't be 2 halves, Aries, unless you can, and ultimately some of you can. All right, I'll continue.